The stench of synthetic alcohol and unwashed bodies hit Kai Forster like a physical force as he stepped into the broken airlock. The bar sat on the edge of Nexus Station's red sector, where station security rarely ventured and credits bought. Anything or anyone. Kai pulled his battered leather jacket tighter, more from habit than cold. At 35, his dark hair was already streaked with premature grey, and the scar running across his right cheek told its own story of survival. He'd come for supplies, nothing more. Get in, get out, get back to his salvage ship. That was the plan, until he saw them. 3 small figures huddled in the corner, their skin the pale blue of Medusan natives, with delicate antenna-like structures quivering atop their heads. Girls, young ones. The oldest couldn't be more than 12 standard years. They wore tattered clothing that might once have been school uniforms, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. Beside them stood an adult Medusan male, swaying slightly, his antenna drooping, a sign of illness or addiction. He gripped an empty bottle, gesturing wildly as he argued with Brock Vane, a trafficker whose reputation made even hardened spaces uncomfortable. "Finest bloodline," the Medusan was saying, his translator glitching. "Worth more than worthless. Liquid. Need more?" Vane laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "1 bottle for all 3. That's my offer, Medusan. Take it or starve with them." Kai's hand drifted to the pulse pistol at his hip. Memories surged. A burning colony, children's screams, being shuffled from one uncaring guardian to another. He'd sworn never to look away again. 5 bottles, the Medusan counted, not even looking at his daughters. 2, Vane said, and I'm being generous. Kai shouldered through the crowd before his better judgment could stop him. 50,000. "You credits," he announced, loud enough to silence the nearest conversations. Every eye in the bar turned to him. The Medusan's antenna straightened in surprise. Vane's reptilian features twisted. "Forster, didn't think you dealt in flesh." "I don't," Kai kept his voice level, "but I'm making an exception." The Medusan's multifaceted eyes gleamed with greed. 50,000 for all 3? "For all 3, Kai confirmed, trying not to look at the girls' terrified faces. "This isn't your business, salvager," Vane hissed, hand moving toward his weapon. Kai met his gaze. "I just made it my business." The bartender, a massive 4-armed Dralax, slammed down a cleaning unit. "No blood in my bar. Take it outside or settle it with credits." Vane stared at Kai, calculating. 70,000. 60, Kai countered. "And I don't space your ship on my way out." A tense silence followed. Everyone knew Kai's reputation as a pilot. The threat wasn't empty. "Deal," the Medusan interrupted before Vane could respond. 60,000. Kai transferred the credits immediately while Vane fumed. The Medusan didn't even look at his daughters as he stumbled toward the bar, already ordering his payment in liquid form. Kai approached the girls slowly, hands visible. The oldest pushed her sisters behind her, baring tiny, sharp teeth. "It's okay," he said softly, knowing they couldn't understand him. Their translator chips had probably been removed, standard practice for trafficking victims. He crouched down, pulling out a ration bar and breaking it into pieces, offering one slowly. The youngest, barely more than a toddler, made a small chirping sound and reached for it before her sister slapped her hand away. "Smart girl," Kai murmured to the oldest. He set the ration pieces on the floor and backed up. After a moment's hesitation, she snatched them, distributing them to her sisters while keeping wary eyes on Kai. "Time to go," he said gently, gesturing toward the door. He could feel Vane's murderous gaze following them. As they moved through the crowded bar, Kai's communicator buzzed. A message from his ship's AI. "Bounty alert. 100,000 credits for the return of 3 Medusan children. 50,000 for the head of their abductor." That was fast. Too fast. Vane must have connections higher up than Kai had realized. The girls weren't just random victims. Someone powerful wanted them. The youngest stumbled, and without thinking, Kai lifted her up. She went rigid, then gradually relaxed against his chest, making that soft chirping sound again. "We'll be okay," he whispered, knowing she couldn't understand the words, but hoping she'd feel the intent. "I promise." His ship was 3 levels up, and already he could sense they were being followed. The oldest girl seemed to sense it too, her antenna twitching nervously as she clutched her middle sister's hand. Kai had just made himself a target for every bounty hunter and mercenary in the sector, for 3 alien children he didn't know, couldn't even communicate with, but as the youngest curled trustingly against him, he knew he couldn't have done anything else. The hunt had begun. Kai's salvage ship, the Vesper, cut through the darkness of space. Its engines pushed beyond recommended limits. The vessel wasn't designed for speed, its bulky frame better suited for hauling scrap than outrunning pursuers. But Kai knew how to coax extra performance from the aging thrusters. "Proximity alert," announced the ship's AI in its flat, feminine voice. 2 vessels on intercept course." Kai cursed under his breath. In the co-pilot's seat, the oldest Medusan girl watched him with unblinking, multifaceted eyes. He'd managed to get the girls' names using basic gestures. The oldest was Thaler, the middle one Miri, and the tiny one currently sleeping in a makeshift bed was Pim. "Hold tight," he told Thaler, knowing she couldn't understand him. He pointed to the restraint harness, then to her sisters in the rear cabin. She immediately nodded, darting back to secure them. "Smart kid." Kai banked the ship hard, diving toward the asteroid belt that circled Barris 9, a hostile mining world abandoned decades ago. The pursuers, sleek, military-grade interceptors, followed. "His trajectory. They're not giving up," he muttered, weaving through spinning rocks. His only advantage was intimate knowledge of this sector, including his emergency hideout. 20 minutes and several heart-stopping maneuvers later, Kai guided the Vesper into a hollow asteroid large enough to conceal the ship. Ancient mining equipment provided electromagnetic interference that would mask their signature. When the engines powered down, Thaler appeared at his side, antenna twitching nervously. "We're safe," Kai assured her, making what he hoped was a calming gesture. For now. The mining outpost within the asteroid was barely habitable, a few pressurized chambers with emergency supplies and equipment Kai had stashed over the years. He'd used it occasionally when deals went bad, but never planned on housing children here. The girls huddled together when he led them inside, chirping anxiously to each other. The middle one, Miri, seemed especially distressed by their surroundings, her antenna flattened against her head. Kai rummaged through storage containers until he found emergency rations and water purification tablets. When he offered the food, Thaler took it cautiously, sniffing each item before allowing her sisters to eat. "I need to find you translator chips," Kai said, more to himself than them. "But first, we need to figure out what makes you so valuable." To Vane's associates. Over the next 3 days, a routine developed. While the girls slept, curled together in a nest of salvaged blankets, Kai monitored communications channels, trying to gather information. During waking hours, he attempted crude communication with drawings and gestures. On the 4th day, as Kai repaired a faulty oxygen regulator, tiny hands appeared beside his, offering a tool before he reached for it. Pim, the youngest, watched him work with intense fascination. When he thanked her with a smile, she chirped happily, her antenna vibrating in what he hoped was pleasure. Later that evening, as they shared a meal of reconstituted protein, the outpost's ancient security system blared to life. "Perimeter breach," the system warned. "Multiple hostiles detected." Kai grabbed his pulse rifle. "Hide," he told the girls, using a gesture they'd come to understand. Thaler grabbed her sisters and retreated to the hidden storage compartment he'd shown them. But when Kai checked the security feed, He realized the raiders had already breached the inner airlock. Escape, not confrontation, was their only option. He rushed to the hidden compartment, finding the girls trembling inside. "Change of plans," he said, pointing toward the emergency evacuation route. As they hurried through narrow maintenance tunnels, weapons fire erupted behind them. Miri stumbled, crying out in pain. Without hesitation, Kai scooped her up, still running. They reached the secondary docking bay, where Kai kept an ancient shuttle, little more than a pressurized box with engines, but their only hope. As he worked to power it up, raiders broke through the final barrier. To his shock, Thaler grabbed his discarded pulse pistol and fired at their pursuers. Her shot went wide, but it bought precious seconds as Kai completed the launch sequence. The shuttle tore away from the asteroid as explosions rocked the outpost behind them. In the cramped cabin, Kai found Miri shivering, a minor plasma burn on her leg. As he applied a medkit's healing gel, he felt small hands gripping his arm. Thaler and Pym watching with concerned eyes. "We'll be okay," he promised, his voice breaking slightly. "I won't let them take you." Thaler touched his face gently, then made a series of chirps and clicks. Though he couldn't understand the words, the meaning felt clear. "We trust you." For the first time since his rescue mission began, Kai felt something crack in his carefully maintained emotional armor. These weren't just cargo he was protecting. They were becoming family. The trading outpost on Helios 7 was notorious for two things: asking no questions and selling anything to anyone with credits, perfect for a man traveling with 3 alien children and a bounty on his head. Kai kept the girls close as they moved. Through the crowded marketplace, 2 weeks of hiding had depleted their supplies, and the shuttle's life support system was failing. They needed provisions, parts, and, most critically, translator chips for the girls. "Stay together," he told them, using the hand signal they now understood. Thaler nodded, keeping her sisters between them as they navigated the noisy bazaar. A tech stall, Kai examined outdated translator chips, while the vendor, a spindly Atavian, eyed the girls with uncomfortable interest. "Unusual merchandise you're carrying," the vendor remarked. "Medusan children are rare outside their home system." Kai's hand drifted to his concealed weapon. "They're not merchandise." "Of course not," the vendor said smoothly. "Though many would pay handsomely if they were, especially for ones with royal markings." Kai froze. "Royal markings?" The Atavian pointed to the intricate patterns on Thaler's forehead, barely visible beneath her pale blue skin. "The spiral crest marks the genetic line of Medusan energy manipulators, very valuable to certain parties." Before Kai could respond, a woman's voice cut through the conversation. "You're overcharging for outdated technology." She appeared. Beside them, tall, with copper skin and dark hair pulled into intricate braids, her eyes, a startling amber, fixed on the vendor with clear disapproval. "Dr. Juno Reyes," she introduced herself, ignoring the vendor's protests. "And you need better translator chips than these ancient models." She turned to the girls, then spoke in a series of melodic chirps and clicks. Thaler's antenna shot upright. In surprise, she responded hesitantly, her voice musical in her native tongue. "You speak Medusan?" Kai asked, astonished. "I'm a xenolinguist," Juno explained, "and we should continue this conversation elsewhere. You've attracted attention." Kai noticed several figures converging on their position. "Girls, move," he ordered, already reaching for his weapon. What followed was a chaotic rush through crowded market stalls. Juno led them through hidden passages between buildings, while Kai fired cover shots at their pursuers. Pym clung to his back, small arms wrapped tightly around his neck. They finally reached a small landing bay, where an elegant research vessel waited. "Get in," Juno commanded, activating the entry ramp. Once safely aboard and breaking atmosphere, Juno turned to him. "You have no idea what you're involved in, do you?" "I know enough," Kai replied defensively. "They were being sold. I stopped it." Juno's expression softened. Noble, but complicated. These girls aren't just any Medusans. They're from the royal lineage, believed extinct after the Syndicate raid on their homeworld. As Juno spoke with the girls in their language, the full story emerged. Their father, once a royal scientist, had fled with them after their mother's assassination. Addiction and desperation had eventually led to his betrayal, but not before he'd hidden something valuable inside his daughters. Genetically encoded data, Juno explained. The secrets of Medusan energy manipulation, abilities to control and convert energy fields. The Syndicate wants it for weapons. The Commerce Guild wants it for faster-than-light travel. And you? Kai asked, suddenly suspicious. What do you want? To keep it from those who would misuse it, she said simply. I worked with their mother. Before the raid, I promised to protect her research. That night, while the girls slept in comfortable quarters, Kai and Juno shared a meal in the ship's galley. Their conversation moved from urgent planning to personal histories, discovering shared experiences of loss and survival. Why did you really help us? Kai asked, noticing how the ship's low lighting accentuated the curve of her neck. The warmth. In her eyes, because I recognized something in you, she answered, someone who still believes in doing the right thing, even when it's difficult. Her hand brushed his as she reached for her drink. The simple touch sent unexpected warmth through him. When their eyes met, the connection was immediate and electric. Kai leaned forward slightly, and Juno matched his movement. Their kiss was tentative at first, then deepened with surprising intensity. It had been so long since he'd allowed himself this kind of connection, this vulnerability. Later, lying together in her quarters, Juno traced the scar on his cheek. The girls trust you completely. Thaler told me you've never once made them feel like cargo. Kai thought about the strange journey that had brought them together. I never planned on any of this. The best families are often the ones we never planned for. Juno murmured against his shoulder. Their moment of peace was shattered by the ship's alarm. Proximity alert, announced the AI. Syndicate vessel approaching. The research vessel Horizon drifted silently in the shadow of a gas giant, its systems powered down to minimal life support. Outside, a Syndicate cruiser prowled the darkness, searching. In the medical bay, Kai watched anxiously as Juno worked, frantically to stabilize Pym, whose small body convulsed on the examination table. The child's skin had taken on a luminous quality, glowing from within as energy fluctuations surged through her. What's happening to her? Kai demanded, holding the trembling hands of Thaler and Miri. Her abilities are manifesting prematurely, Juno explained, administering a stabilizing compound. The stress of constant flight, the pursuit, it's triggered something that normally wouldn't emerge until adolescence. 3 days had passed since their narrow escape from Helios 7. 3 days of running, hiding, and watching Pym's condition deteriorate as strange energies coursed through her tiny body. Can you help her? Thaler asked through the translator chip Juno had provided. Her voice in translation was unexpectedly deep for a child, carrying an undercurrent of musical tones. I'm trying, Juno said gently. Your sister's body is trying to process too much energy at once. Kai squeezed Thaler's shoulder reassuringly, then approached the table. Against all medical advice, he reached for Pym's glowing hand. The energy that arced between them was painful, but he didn't pull away. I'm here, little one, he whispered. Focus on my voice. To everyone's surprise, the erratic energy patterns began to stabilize. Pym's eyes fluttered open, fixing on Kai's face. The glow receded slowly, channeling into more controlled pathways visible beneath her skin. How did you do that? Juno asked in astonishment. Kai shook his head, equally confused. I don't know. Later, when Pym slept peacefully and the other girls had been settled, Juno showed Kai her research files in the ship's laboratory. Holographic displays showed the unique Medusan biology, specifically the specialized neural pathways that allowed them to perceive and manipulate energy fields. Their mother's research was groundbreaking, Juno explained. She discovered ways to enhance their natural abilities, potentially allowing for manipulation of space-time itself, making them living FTL drives, Kai concluded grimly, or weapons capable of destabilizing planetary cores, Juno added, which is why the Commerce Guild and the Syndicate both want them. And why their father tried to sell them? Juno shook her head. He was trying to hide them originally. The addiction came later, after years of running. That night, while the ship continued its silent evasion, Kai found himself unable to sleep. He checked on the girls, finding Miri and Thala curled together in peaceful slumber. In the adjoining room, Pym lay awake, her large eyes luminous in the darkness. "Can't sleep?" Kai asked softly, sitting beside her bed. Pym reached for his hand. Through the translator at her throat, she spoke for the first time since he'd rescued them. "You feel like home." The simple declaration struck him deeply. "What do you mean?" "Your energy," she said. "It feels like mother's, safe." Kai stayed with her until she drifted to sleep, her small hand clasped in his. When he finally returned to the quarters he shared with Juno, he found her awake, analyzing data on a tablet. "There's something I need to tell you," she said as he sat beside her. "Your DNA test results came back. There's a reason you could stabilize. Pym's energy fluctuations." She showed him the genetic comparison. Certain markers in his DNA matched patterns found in Medusan physiology. Impossible coincidences, unless... "My mother was a xenobiology researcher," Kai said slowly, memories surfacing, "of a gentle woman with secretive work, before the colony was destroyed, before I was orphaned. She may have been part of the early research team," Juno suggested, "perhaps experimenting with gene therapy on herself, or even on her unborn child," Kai finished. The revelation explained so much: his unusual piloting abilities, his instinctive understanding of energy systems. Juno set aside the tablet, moving closer to him. "You're connected to them in ways none of us understood." Their embrace began as comfort, but quickly kindled into passion. In the artificial night of the ship's cycle, they came together with increasing urgency, clothing discarded, hands exploring with newfound purpose. Their bodies moved in perfect synchronization, finding rhythm in the shared understanding of what they now protected together. Afterward, lying in the tangled sheets, Juno traced the faint, almost imperceptible patterns visible just beneath the skin of Kai's chest. Patterns remarkably similar to those on the Medusan children. "We can't keep running forever," she whispered. "No," Kai agreed. "It's time to make a stand." The message had gone out on encrypted channels, known only to those who had once served with Medusan researchers. The daughters of the royal line live. They seek sanctuary. Kai stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching the massive syndicate. Warship emerged from hyperspace. Behind it followed 3 Commerce Guild vessels, their weapons systems powered and ready. "They took the bait," Juno said grimly, adjusting the ship's shields. This desolate system, 3 dead planets circling a dying star, had been chosen carefully. If their plan failed, no innocent lives would be lost. If it succeeded... "Ah, you ready?" Kai asked the girls, who stood together at the navigation console. Thala, now wearing the ceremonial markings of her heritage drawn by Juno's careful hand, nodded solemnly. "We remember the sequences." Over the past 2 weeks, Juno had helped the girls understand their abilities, training them to channel and control the energy that flowed through their unique biology. Meanwhile, Kai had called in every favor owed to him across the sector, gathering, Information and resources. The comm system crackled. Attention research vessel, this is Commander Vetch of Syndicate Security. Surrender the Medusan assets immediately. Assets? Kai replied coolly. I see no assets here, only children you've been hunting across the galaxy. Those children are property of the Syndicate by right of conquest, Vetch snarled. Surrender them, and we might allow you and Dr. Reyes to live. Kai cut the communication. Begin the sequence. Juno activated the modified systems they'd prepared. The ship's reactor power diverted to specialized conduits leading to the console where the girl stood in triangular formation. Pym, at the apex, placed her small hands on the energy collectors. Remember, Juno instructed, just like we practiced. Thela controls the pattern, Miri stabilizes, Pym projects. As the Syndicate ship launched fighters, the girls began their work. Energy flowed through them, visible as luminous pathways beneath their skin. The ship's sensors recorded impossible readings as space-time itself began to fluctuate around them. They're preparing to fire, Juno warned. Kai moved to stand protectively behind the girls, placing his hands gently on Thela's shoulders. Together, he said. The energy surged. A blinding flash erupted from the ship, expanding outward in concentric rings. When the light faded, the attacking vessels hung motionless, caught in a localized time distortion field, crews frozen in mid-action, weapons halted mid-deployment. Now, Pym, Juno urged. The smallest girl concentrated, her entire body glowing. A narrow corridor of bent space-time formed ahead of them, a hyperspace window unlike any generated by conventional technology. Take us through, Kai ordered the autopilot. The horizon slipped into the corridor, leaving the paralyzed fleet behind. The passage was turbulent but controlled, and when they emerged, they faced a hidden world, one removed from all standard star charts. Medusan ships rose to meet them, their organic designs beautiful against the backdrop of a blue-green planet. We're being hailed, Juno said, tears streaming down her face. It's the sanctuary colony. 2 days later, Kai stood on a balcony, overlooking the hidden Medusan settlement, a city of elegant crystal structures nestled in a verdant valley. The girls had been welcomed as royalty returned from the dead, their genetic heritage confirming their identity beyond question. Juno joined him, slipping her arm around his waist. The council wants to speak with us again tomorrow. They're offering us citizenship. Citizenship? Kai echoed, surprised. I thought humans weren't permitted. Special circumstances, Juno explained. Your genetic connection, plus our role as the girls' guardians. The adoption request has been approved. Kai turned to her in shock. Already? Medusan efficiency, she smiled, though Thela insisted it was merely formalizing what already existed. From below came the sound of children playing. In a garden courtyard, Thela, Miri, and Pym raced among flowers with other Medusan children, their laughter carrying on the warm breeze. When Pym spotted them watching, she waved excitedly, her antenna quivering with happiness. I never thought I'd have this, Kai admitted, pulling Juno closer. A home, a family. Neither did I, Juno replied, reaching up to touch his face. Sometimes the universe has other plans. As sunset painted the crystal city in shades of gold and amber, Kai reflected on the journey that had brought them here. What had begun as a desperate act of conscience in a seedy bar had transformed into something profound, a family forged in crisis, bound by choice rather than blood. The girls raced up the path toward them, Pym launching herself into Kai's arms, while Thela and Miri surrounded Juno with excited chatter about their day. Father, Pym chirped happily in his ear, the translator no longer necessary between them. The teacher says tomorrow we can show you the energy gardens. I can't wait, Kai replied, his throat tight with emotion. Later that night, after the girls were asleep in their new chambers, Kai and Juno stood on the balcony of their shared quarters, the unfamiliar stars bright above them. "The Syndicate won't stop looking," Juno said softly. "Let them look," Kai answered, drawing her into his arms. "This world is well hidden, and we have 3 very special daughters who can bend space-time if needed." Juno smiled against his chest. "And what will Kai Forster, infamous salvager, do now that he's settled down?" "I was thinking of starting a sanctuary transport service," he said thoughtfully. "There must be others out there like our girls, hunted, exploited, needing a way." "Home, our girls," Juno repeated, savoring the words. "I like the sound of that." Their kiss was silhouetted against the crystal spires of their new home, while across the valley 3 small blue forms glowed softly in their sleep, starlight daughters who had found their way home, guiding their unlikely parents to a future none of them could have imagined. 3.7 Sonnet.